Okay, hello everyone. I am Lynn Tousignan. I'm the founder of Blockversity and its community that we call the Knowledge Builders. We are a network focusing on connecting subject matter expert, consultant, and coaches with anyone looking for advice or growing their skills, growing their career, growing their business. And today, I have the pleasure of having with us Laura Lirette. Please join me to welcome Laura, the woman that you want in your corner if you're a startup or a candidate looking to join startups. Laura, welcome.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks for having me as your first guest. I love it.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And I have many questions for you. So first, for the benefit of people watching this, so you are a former software engineer, you turn investor, community builder who is all about helping founders scale smarter. And you are the GM of Hardboot and OPN that you will tell us more about. You support startups with everything from hiring top talent to streamlining operation and getting investor ready. Do I get this right?
Correct. Yes.
It's correct. So, and you have a reputation of offering honest inside, big energy. And this I can say it is true. I know you enough to know that you have this high level of energy that I really love. You have an ability to even, to make complex challenges feel clear, feel easy and doable. And I really think that it's a very good reputation to have. It's a good accomplishment. So, but now the question that I'm sure everyone's want to you to answer is that how did you get there? Could we start really from the beginning?
For sure. Yeah, I can talk to you about how I became an engineer. Um, After I went to school, I first started in 97, started my career at a company called Campana. And we wrote software for AAA and CAA. I had the chance to work across pretty much every department: road service, travel, point of sale, insurance, everything. It gave me a really broad perspective early on. And I was super lucky to meet some amazing mentors, people who really invested their time in me in the early days. Pretty quickly, I realized how much I thrive on growth and learning. That curiosity pushed me to explore beyond engineering. I'm incredibly grateful for those experiences. They've really helped me help startups along the way too. So
That's let me, you already told us many important point, interesting points. So the first thing is, you said I started, as engineering. What made you choose this as a first step? Is there anything that any moment or some influence? What led you to that?
yeah, I actually wanted to go into the healthcare field. That's really where I wanted
Oh,
to start. And I just found out that I was really, my brain worked very logically. I'm a logical thinker. I'm good at math. And that's just really where I excelled, was in that space. So after 10 years, that's pretty much all I could do. But it was a really good start, but I realized fairly quickly that it wasn't really where I wanted to stay. Didn't fit my personality.
and I first I think this is great what you're saying because you know when we start a career, and I say we because I think this applies to pretty much everyone. Um, Most often, I think that we don't know exactly. We think that we might like something, we want to go there, but once it is part of your day to day, you start learning more, not only about the role or even the field in which you are in, but maybe you also learn about yourself and what really makes you excited, what is really attracting, and then which can lead very often to a shift. But you mentioned something else. You talked about mentorship. How do you think, how important do you think it is to have a mentor? And can you tell us a bit more about how the mentors you had made a difference for you in your career?
Yeah, when I went to school, I was super early on in like the world of like GUI, if you will. So everything was sort of a text-based screen. And when everything that I took in school when I first got my first job, I had no skill sets, not one. Like they were programming a completely different language. They hired me based off of, I could learn and my personality basically. So without those mentors, I couldn't have been successful in working through all of those different departments and even learning that language. They really were one-on-one when I first started. They had a course. Here's learn the language. And you had exercises to do. And then every time I shifted departments, because I've always been a learner and I've always looked for growth. I always looking for change my whole life. So I worked everywhere in every different department, and I had so many different mentors within that company but without them, I wouldn't have lasted a decade doing that. It really,
Okay.
yeah.
And then you moved on, from this technical engineering role into the product management.
Project, yeah.
So, project management, sorry. And what drove that change? Is there something, a specific trigger? Is it something that just started growing, on you in terms of, what you could do? Tell
Yeah.
me a bit more about this.
I think a lot of it really was like, when you're working, you want to feel like you're making a difference, or you really have to love the people that you're working with. I love the people that I was working with, but for me, making a difference was more important, or as equally as important. I had to feel I was doing that. And I really, truly just didn't feel like I was making any sort of difference in anybody's life. And I know I was, but it wasn't the impact that I personally needed to have to make me feel like I wanted to go to work every day. I knew I needed to go back to school. I knew I needed to learn a new skill. I met this wonderful lady who's pivoted me for the first time, and she suggested that I go back to school and I take project management. So when I was on maternity leave with my youngest child, I went back to school, and it really reminded me how much I love to learn. It really reignited that deeper sense of purpose in me. It opened new doors professionally and personally, and I discovered that it fit me perfectly. I love structure, I love people and progress, and it really changed the course of my career.
And this brings two questions. The first one would be, when you started, when you started in this new role of a PM, what were the biggest surprise or the biggest challenge that you faced?
It was a completely new career choice for me. So at that point, I found a new job. I worked for a Microsoft partner, and I was leading these exciting projects that were very large. Some were government, some were telecom. They were very large corporations. And, I came from Campana, we worked kind of like more small business. So this is the first time I was running teams of people, developers, and designers, and all of that kind of stuff. And that really helped really shape my people skills. It helped me learn how to motivate people, navigate different personalities, how do you help those teams deliver. And then from there, I was working on a big account, and they lost it to Salesforce. That company had switched over, and then I needed another new path. So I pivot continuously. So this was a really big pivot for me again. And that's really where I met my partner, Jeffrey Potvin, and he brought me into Hardboot, where I'm at today, as a project manager. But from there, I've grown from that to director of PMO to general manager. We've started 2 new companies. From there, Open People Network, which is our community for startups. And then we started our investment arm, the Supporters Fund. And that was really that journey from building my career to building these companies is where I truly stepped into leadership and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, everything that you just said, I'm sure that many people will have a lot of questions about that. But and we will get to this. Let's do one step back.
Yep.
When you are talking about your transition, you had very clear objective, a very clear understanding of what you wanted based on what you are telling us today. You said, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to work with people that I love, and I was already doing that, but I wanted more. So you
Yeah.
had, I think, a very, maybe you knew yourself. But I also think that for many people, they might be at the point that they know what they don't want anymore. They
Mhm.
know that they need a change, but they don't exactly know what they want. Would you
Yeah.
have any advice for those people on how they can get to figure this out?
I don't think you have to have all the answers, because when I look back, I wasn't really at that spot. I knew I wanted to make a difference, but I wasn't really making a big difference at that point, right? That wasn't the pivot that really made me feel fulfilled. It was much later, but I knew I was on the path. I knew I was on the path where I needed to be, where I needed to learn, and I needed to absorb that information and surround myself with people that are way smarter than me. Find those mentors that are going to help push you in a way that, in a positive way, but without being pushed, you're never going to grow, right? So being in a role where you're just like, it depends on your personality, first of all. I need to grow. That's who I am. I need change all the time. Not like lots of it. I just need things to be exciting. And I think that everybody finishes school and they're like, well, this is my career path. Nothing's linear. Like, it's a zigzag through, it's always been a zigzag, but today it's even more of a zigzag than it used to be because the careers are changing so quickly. But I just don't think that you have to have it all figured out at any point of your career. Today, I don't even know that I have it all figured out. This is what I've done to date. I could end my career doing something totally different that's a passion based off of where I'm at in life, right? Like, I don't know what it's going to bring, but I do know that I didn't have all the answers then. And I didn't know that
Okay.
I was going to find my passion in work, but it wasn't then. And I wouldn't have been able to guess that that was the path at that point. I just didn't need to know
And
I had to keep moving.
yeah, and you said um it's a matter of personality, and I think that you touched something there. The fact is, not everybody has the same personality, and some people are more adventurous than others, and some others are more they can more easily feel insecure, and doing a transition in a career, going to something that is totally new, can be scary. And do you feel that the fact that you were having mentors is what made the difference for you, to give you the self-confidence and the courage to say, I'm going for it? Or is it just that you were scared, but you decided to do it anyway? What was it?
I think it's always I think it's a combination of both. I think you surrounding yourself with those people. I've had two people in my life that have really changed the course of my career. One was that lady that I mentioned that suggested project management, and the other was my partner today, Jeffrey. And he pushes me every day to do things that I'm uncomfortable with, and then I'm not uncomfortable anymore. And I think that that's what I've learned over the years, is that the only way to really grow is to be uncomfortable, and finding those
Mhm.
people that push you. I often go back to sports analogies, not that I played sports per se, did, but not like to the level of my kids, but they played hockey, at elite levels. And there's just so many learnings when you play at that level that you can take back into business, right? And even though I wasn't playing, I was learning from him and the coaching staff and those lessons. And I brought a lot of those lessons back into my work as well, in how I work.
So yeah, let's talk about this now, where more about where you are at today.
Mm,
But the first thing, you said that moving was also meant that you learn on how to motivate people. You
mm.
learn on how to deal with different personalities. W- What did it mean for you in terms of mindset? Did you have, because you moved from doing the work to leading people, you know,
Mm.
what kind of mindset shift does it require?
It's tough. It's tough not to do the work, and it's a harder job to lead the work than it is to do the work. You're managing different personalities. Sometimes I find it's easier to do it myself, but that doesn't help, right? So you have to,
Mm-hmm.
just like in the beginning when I first started my career, that's what I have to give back to help now, right? So, and today is a completely different world with technology, and your learning curve is really high today because there's something new literally every day. But really helping my team be successful and figuring out who are those growth people and who's happy doing what they're doing, right? So figuring out like the different personality types, and also the people that want to be pushed, that are like me, that do like that growth and do like that change. I tried to leave my first job a few times. They're like, well, why? That's why I moved around so much. And they tried to give me that diversity. And then in the end, we had both made a mutual decision that, I needed more growth and it just wasn't going to happen there. So that's really why I decided to move on at the time. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And you said that, it's moving to lead people instead of doing the work was tough. So talking about what is tough, what is the toughest calls you had to make, as a general manager? Is it a hiring? Is it a product pivot? Is it operational change? Can you tell a bit about this and how you have been navigating that?
yeah, for sure. I think the hardest part of leadership for me has been, especially right now, managing change during, high growth and uncertain times. Navigating conflict, communication, developing people, those are all challenging, of course. But the pace today, driven by AI, tech, the market shifts, it's really the real test, right? So keeping the teams aligned and resilient through that rapid evolution is really one of the most complex parts of leadership today, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree on this. I mean, I think that right now we are in a period or even maybe an era where everything is changing.
Yeah.
Everything is changing. AI is a big part of that
Mhm.
because AI is accelerating everything. It's changing pretty much each and every industry,
Yeah.
and it is impacting the roles of everybody. I recently, as an example, and what I'm going to say is not what I would like to say, that I just recently started using a new tool, a software tool, and their reputation is that they have a very good support team.
Yeah.
I had some challenges and I reached out to the support team. And what I got as an answer from them,
Mhm.
I got a much better answer from AI. That's sad.
It
And
is
it is
sad. I don't
is
even know
it
why I'm laughing. It's just not surprising.
it's not surprising because of the documentation and so on but at the same time, I still believe that people can adapt and learn how to use AI instead of being replaced or becoming just someone who's going to repeat what AI is telling them. I think that there is room for that, and it's one of the reasons why we created Logversity, actually, about creating a place where people can keep building all their knowledge and their business and so on. But I don't want to walk away from the conversation we are having right now, and I want to come back to you. um, so you have been talking about your challenge. What about your biggest victory?
Well, I would say that this is probably the biggest thing, that's biggest pivot I've had. I have had, I think, three, but this would be the biggest, which is my biggest victory, would be stepping into the startup world. It was really scary at the time. I knew nothing about it. It was really exciting. It was completely new and incredibly challenging, but turned into the biggest opportunity of my career. Through our family of companies, Hardboot, OPN, and the Fund, we've had the chance to support thousands of founders. And what's really made it truly meaningful, it's not really about the funding. It's the advice that you give. It's the mentorship, helping people believe in themselves early on when they really don't have that data to back up their business. And it's the ripple effect, right? So starting startups, creating jobs, driving innovations, giving back to their communities. It's incredible to watch that.
And let's talk a bit more about this, because you are wearing two different hats. The advisor and the investor.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think, you tell me, but I would think that sometimes it may be even somehow a form of conflict, and some other times it might be more a form of continuity. Maybe if people are not ready for you to invest, but they are ready to receive some advice and you can bring them there.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you have moments where you feel that there are things that you would tell or not tell them because of the fact that you are decided to invest in? Or I'm just trying to better understand how it is to switch from one hat to the other.
I think they go hand in hand. Like, with it probably it depends. Sometimes I'll talk to bigger businesses and then I have my startup hat on and I'm like, what's your revenue? And I'm like, wait a minute, that's the wrong business. So I have to like remember, what who I'm talking to and all of that stuff. But where was I gonna go with that?
I know. You are in between the two hats right now. That's
Yeah,
why.
it's hard, right? Like, because I wear a lot of hats, but they all go together. And really, because we do work with enterprise businesses, but the core of the business is really like, we invest first in super early before they really have anything. 90% of our companies that we've invested are first in investments. And at that point, you're investing so early, there's really nothing to back it up. You're really investing at the founder level. But I also talk to a lot of companies that are much bigger than that, right? Like they're at Series A, there's Series B. Some of these are bootstrapped and growing on their own. But I think, the goal is always the same, is how do you help these companies grow and how do you support their growth? So with all of the services that we have, I can always find something that can help them. When you talk to so many companies, given who I am as a person, I always have to have value in that conversation, or at least I try my best to find something I can do. An introduction. If I can't help everybody, right? So what can I do to help that person if I can't help them? And even if I can also create that ripple effect. And that's why we've created so many partnerships. I've created under OPN, we've created what we call growth partners. And we've brought in all of these amazing businesses that support the startup community. So if there's nothing I can do to help them, or even if I can, maybe there's a service or program that they can offer that startup that's going to help their growth.
Do you have because you said you can work with really startup at the very beginning, or you've been working with some others that are maybe Series A or even Series B, which is a very, very different context.
Yeah.
So would you have one example of each of something that how you have been working with them, advising them?
At the different companies. Well, right now, so we have, under our portfolio, we've invested in over 30 companies right now, I think. So a good way of how do we support? So Jeffrey and I work very closely together. Right now, I'm focused on Hardboot, and he is actually focused on helping one of our startups right now. So he's, on site helping them right now. So we don't say that we're going to help you. We literally do help you. We've even gone and traveled and helped startups raise capital before that are in our portfolio. We mentor a lot of startups before we even invest in those startups for years. Sometimes it's just like one thing that they do and then we're like, okay, now we want to invest, right? So we'd like you as a human, we want to help you, but your business isn't for us to invest in right now, but then it might be, right? And they just have to get to that spot. And it could, and it's not always it, most of the time it's just a shift, a pivot in their business, and it's like, okay, this makes sense for us as a business to invest at this point. So we just love to support
And
these businesses and help them grow in whatever way we can, right? So that's why we've created this family, this ecosystem, if you will, of companies where we can,
mhm.
through talent, operations, revenue, and getting them ready to get that money from investment that's going to help them grow.
And do you, you know, how does it work? What is your model, especially when you are not ready to invest? Is it a fee that you charge? Is it a mix with stock options? Is this something that you can share with us?
Today, we just give back on the mentorship side. So if it's a company that, or a founder, we're people first, right? So if it's a founder that we love, that we want to help, then we're gonna, help them as much as we can, given our time commitments, right? So currently, right now, that's the way that we work. Will it shift? Probably.
So call to all startups. They want to know you.
I've been called like the nice person to talk to. The nice advice. And yeah, not that I don't give hard advice. I mean, sometimes I talked to three, when the markets were crazy. I was talking to 300 startups a month, 20-minute calls, back to back to back. It's crazy. It's a lot of talking,
Wow.
but you get so much energy from these startups. So much. And at the end of the day, you almost have more energy because you've had all of these amazing calls with these people.
Yeah, it's just kind of feeding you.
Right. But like, given what everything I've said, I couldn't just like, okay, nice to see you. Like, I have to find that value back to all of these people, right? So it's really why the community is so important to me.
Good. And what are the most common, pitfalls, mistakes that you see from startups?
Oh, well, it's 90% of the startup failures is people. It really is. There's this big list, it says this, that, and the next thing, but like most of them all come back to roll it up, people, not the product or the service. There's about 10% that are based on out of your control, regulations,
Yeah.
tariffs, right? Like there's a lot, there, not a lot, but there are things that are out of a founder's control, but they really do try to do everything themselves, founders. And, they delay building a strong team. But today, speed matters more than everything, right? With AI moving, and they have to know when to hire smart, delegate, and stay agile right now, especially. And remember, when you're building a startup, it's really a team sport. And that success really comes from surrounding yourself with the people that push you, not just support you. You really need to have
Yeah,
push, right?
that's a very good point. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
you want, what is the saying, that you want to hire people that are smarter than you or
Yeah.
something like this, where you
Hire
want to
people that are
have
smarter, hire slow, fire fast. Yeah,
yeah.
it's finding that right, that right mix of the team, right? That's going to push you across, and bring in those right people. It's going to make a huge difference in your career
Yeah.
or business.
Yeah.
And even not just that team, like your advisors that you bring in, it's those early stage people that really make a big difference. Once you get to like the bigger rounds, they're not really as involved, right? They're just like return on investment. But those angel investors are really, they're those people that really are invested in your business. They want you to succeed. They're willing to help with you, push you. It's when you stop talking to them as a startup that investors are like, But as a startup, it still baffles me why they do that, right? Because we're the ones that are going to help support you, get you through that if it's possible, right? So communication is the only way to get that help that you really do need.
Yeah, so you would think that maybe sometimes they are afraid to share their struggle because they are afraid that
Yeah.
it would maybe lead a view of walking away or not investing or things like that, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, confrontation. People just don't like confrontation, right? So they're like, well, if I don't say anything, then it's just easier.
But when you don't say anything, it doesn't go away. It doesn't
Yeah,
make it
we've had
necessarily
companies.
go away.
Yeah, we've had companies failed and never even talked to us. They didn't tell us they failed. We just figured it out. So,
Wow. Wow.
and we
Hmm.
invested in them. So yeah, there's like,
That's that's a kind of a bad surprise.
yeah. So it's like one of those red flags, if you will. You know, as soon as they stop talking to you, you're like, what's going on? I need to figure it out. Start getting my investigation hat on. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, most of the time they don't want to ask for help, right? So,
Mm.
but they should.
And now if we, if we bring all of this together in if in terms of, the role that you do today, the growth and the transition that you have been through during your career and how it has been evolving actually. Is there one or two key advice that you would give to someone who wants to do something similar, even if in a different field, but something where they really want to grow?
Never stop learning, right? And don't be afraid to take those risks. I mean, if you failure, be okay with failing. Like, just keep moving on. Like, like I said, I don't know. My career is still evolving after 25 years. Where I'll go, I'm not sure. But it's such an exciting space to be in. And everybody's path is different, right? Like, I know that I'm driven by growth and change and people. So I didn't know at the beginning that I need to be surrounded by people. It's just what I was good at. But just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you can't become good at other things as you grow into your career. And you're never stuck, right? Like, so many people don't end up doing what they took in school.
True, true. And I think it's, never stop learning is really the key point.
Yeah.
Because especially nowadays, especially with, the uncertainty because of the technology evolving so fast, I think that everybody, no matter what they do,
Yeah.
they need to make sure that they stay up to date, that they keep learning. And this learning can be just to be the best at what they already do, or it can be to do a transition to something else. But one way or the other, I think that we are past, for a long time now, we are past the time where people could say, oh, I am out of school, I graduated, I'm going to get a job, and this is it. And I don't need to
It's over.
continue learning, I'm done learning.
Yeah.
And this was true for maybe some specific professions. For example, if you're a doctor, you are an accountant, or some of those profession would
Mhm.
require you to do some continuous education in order to keep your license. But it was limited to this. Comparing to today, I think that no matter what you do, you need to make sure that you are up to date on everything, because the technology is changing
100%.
pretty much
And
every hour.
I'm also finding that people are volunteering just to get like experience on their resume so that they can
Mm-hmm.
then apply at places that they want to work to get that experience. I'm finding a lot of people are reaching out to me trying to do that same thing. They're just not able to find those jobs right now. And they want to have that mentorship and they want to have that experience so that they can add that on and find those people that can help you grow your career, right? Like, it's you have to keep moving forward and connecting yourself with the people that are going to help you grow
Yeah,
and
definitely.
learning, right? But like,
Yeah,
those people will really push and it will really help shape where you want to go at some point. And I just think like you don't have to have it all figured out every day. You just don't. Just keep learning and growing and don't be afraid of failure.
yeah. What do they say? Fell fast.
Yeah. It's the only way we learn, right? Like, you can't learn from others people's failure. You can read books about it. You can listen to podcasts about it. You can listen,
Yeah.
talk to people about it, but at the end of the day, if you haven't gone through it personally, it's really doesn't hit as hard.
So, I mean, this remind me, I was doing a presentation recently and someone was asking me, what should I do next? Because I graduated, I have, I've been taking some courses, I have additional certification, and I'm still having a hard time to find the career or the role that I would like to have.
Yeah.
And to this, I said, stop collecting the certificates, because it's no longer about that. I think that at this point, and it is true with companies like Google and many of the large companies, that they focus much more on the skills that you have today than on the certification that you have. This is less important, because they know that it brings you to a certain level. Of course, it gives you some knowledge, but if you are not, hands-on and don't have practical skill, then you will not be necessarily up to date, because we see even, universities saying they cannot update their curriculum fast enough today for their students to be totally with the latest technology. They have to find by themselves, some spaces where they could get additional and build additional skills. So it's a challenging time, but at the same time, an exciting times.
Yeah, it is.
So it is. And would you have any last advice for people, or is there any question I didn't ask you I should have?
Well, just going on, just adding on to that a little bit, is that there are so many programs out there right now that are like not necessarily a certificate, but help you reskill and to get up to current. And a lot of these programs are, you can get government funding as well. So that really helps the businesses train the people, all their great people. You want to retain the great people that you have. So, pushing them too, right? Like, even so, some businesses are still not adopting the new technology that's upcoming. So there's a lot of work to be done on that side of it as well. And I think that people that are even currently working, go and reskill, get those skill sets. It's pretty exciting time to learn them all right now. So
It is, and there are many different things you can do. We have been involved quite a lot in the AI, and it's, if you know how to use it, it can really boost your career or your business, if you have business or startup. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your time. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure that everybody else watching that did enjoy it. This is the first step. We will have another session that will be announced soon, where you will have the opportunity to join us again, and this time to ask your questions directly to Laura. So hopefully we will see you then. Thank you everyone for your time. I am Nintuznia from Blockversity, and feel free to visit us. We have also some free memberships for people who want to learn. Thank you everyone. Goodbye.
thanks, Lynn.